All right, these are the correct answers for directed reading A on Chapter 1, Section 1 of the Weather and Climate textbook, section titled Characteristics of the Atmosphere. So as you're going through this, make sure that you are marking each question, whether it was right or wrong. You can put a star or a smiley face if it's right, and if it's wrong, make sure you write in the correct answer. Also, any notes that you want to add to your DR, please do that, and I'll be taking a look at the notes you included too. All right, so number one, a mixture of gases surrounding a planet is the atmosphere. Two, composition of the atmosphere is 78% nitrogen. So most of our atmosphere is nitrogen. Phytoplankton and plants produce the atmosphere's oxygen, and that's 21% of our atmosphere is oxygen. So we always think we breathe oxygen, but our atmosphere is mostly nitrogen. 4, most water in the atmosphere is in water vapor, so it's floating around in the air, invisible little droplets of water. And that is less than 1% of our atmosphere is water vapor. Atmospheric pressure and temperature. Number 5, at sea level, a square inch of surface area is under almost how many pounds of pressure? 15 pounds of pressure. So that means, imagine like a cube dice. That's a little bit smaller than a square inch. But that would be under like 15 pounds, like there's 15 pounds of weight pushing down on that little bit of area. Which I guess the point of knowing that is that there's a lot of air, and even though we don't notice it, the air is pretty heavy, 15 pounds. Gas molecules in the atmosphere are pulled toward the Earth by gravity. So the same thing that keeps us standing on the Earth and not floating off into space is the same thing that keeps the atmosphere from floating away. The gravity of the Earth is holding the atmosphere close to Earth. 7, the measure of the force with which air molecules push on a surface is called air pressure. One thing to know about air pressure is it pushes in all directions. So it doesn't just push down or it doesn't just push up. It pushes sideways and slantways and squareways and upways and downways and every ways. 8, explain what happens to air pressure as you move away from Earth's surface. As the altitude increases, air pressure decreases. So the further you get away from Earth's surface, the less air pressure there is. So that's why in the mountains, if you go up high in the mountains, it's like harder to breathe because there's less air pressure. Or if you go up in an airplane, your ears pop because there's less air pressure. 9, explain why parts of the atmosphere are warmer than others. It says warm layers contain a high percentage of gases that absorb solar energy. Cooler layers contain less of these gases. So certain parts of the atmosphere get really hot because they contain gases such as like ozone. All right, now key thing, the 4 layers of the atmosphere. The coldest layer of the atmosphere is B, the mesosphere. 11, the atmosphere layer, including the ozone layer, is C, the stratosphere. 12, layer of the atmosphere closest to the Earth is A, the troposphere. And 13, the uppermost layer of the atmosphere is D, the thermosphere. Those you'll have to know for sure the names of those layers and their descriptions. 14, how are the layers of the atmosphere defined? They are defined by their different temperatures. So each of these 4 layers has a different temperature. 15, in the stratosphere, what happens to the temperature as altitude increases? In the stratosphere, temperature rises as you get closer to the ozone layer. So as you're going up through the stratosphere, it actually gets warmer, 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 warmer. 16, electrically charged particles are called ions. That's just a good science term to know, ions. And 17, in polar regions, ions radiate energy as shimmering lights called auroras. So you maybe heard of the aurora borealis, or sometimes we call that the northern lights. And then in the southern hemisphere, the southern half of the Earth, they call it the southern lights. All right, again, make sure you include any notes. Make sure you've put a mark next to each question. If you don't have a mark next to each question, I'll hand it back to you and you'll have to correct that.